It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Across Live. I've got Muffler Mike with me today. Shawn is on location. I believe he's traveling on to Edmonton, part of the Muffler Mike fan club routine, and getting the parade route all set up. Got more tractors, got more people, got more things going on. So kudos to Shawn for taking on this great project to get the Muffler Mike thing off the ground again. What a campaign. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
What a great week, eh? How about this?
That depends. That's relative. Talking about pick'ems, not so much. But
as they say, how about those pick'ems? just putting that out there. By the way, yours truly had a spectacular week in which, we'll let you in on it a little bit later. And I'm sure as I look here, yes, we have got Eduardo with us. Eduardo, how are you? I believe coming from Jacksonville today, Eduardo. World traveler, Eduardo. Oh, wait a second. St. Augustine, Florida.
All
right. Me not being one with an atlas, I'm assuming that's close. I'm Canadian, man. What do you want? Looks like this much on the map. Must be close, right? Meanwhile, it's Dallas to, Oklahoma. What do I know? Anyways, we got a great show for you. Just let me get a few things of the network out of the way, and then we'll get rolling. Just remember that all the episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on EOPsports.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share with your friends and your non-friends and people down the street and everybody else. As you can see, we have many shows. Please check them out. Please check out the entire lineup. My favorite, of course, as I've always said, is the Friday Night Steel Step Show with our Philly correspondent, Pat Bernard. Just an awesome show. Gotta love your wrestling. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the podcasts on all the major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, and so much more. You can also catch all of the lineup on the EOP YouTube page at EOP Sports. Or if you're looking for our stuff in particular, you can go to the All Across All the Time YouTube page and catch our entire library, as well as retro games, interviews, press conferences, fights, and anything else you can think of is really starting to become a well-rounded page. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. Please have a look at it, and while you're there, please subscribe to it. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. While you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. Well, I can use the saltine myself. Gosh darn. I'm missing that beer, man. Been a week removed, and I'm just, a little bit. If you happen to be in the San Diego area and, want to send a care package, I'm willing to accept. You can get it over the border, by all means, please. Anyways, a few things just to remind you of. On April the 6th in Rochester is the 3rd annual Bats Invitational at the Blue Cross Arena. Doors open at 12:30. Face-off is at 1. This time around, it's the Lax 9 North American Invitational Champion against the Rochester Bats. Admission is free with your Nighthawks ticket for the evening game against the Riptide. And as you'll find out, this will be a pretty interesting game too. So I would check it out. And if you need more information, go to the Instagram Rochester Bats page. Mike Cooper's got a great thing set up there. Also, it's almost summer now. We've already hit daylight savings time. So we got to talk about summer stuff. And we got to save that date of July 6th over at the Rock Athletic Center. You have the 3rd annual Rob McDougall Memorial Classic. You have the Junior A game at 3 p.m., the Celebrity game at 6 p.m. Awesome. The names that are in that celebrity game from year to year is just astoundingly amazing. The game itself is a lot of fun and a lot of talent, and they have a great time doing it. The silent auction, I was able to pick up some great stuff last year, which include a Brian Cole jersey. So there's all kinds of stuff over there, as well as beer garden and live music. Hey, maybe there'll be some salties over there. No Turf Monster, though. Maybe a little bit rock relax beer or whatever it is. But you're going to want to check that out anyways. It's a lot of fun. It's not expensive, and you won't want to miss it as a lacrosse fan if you're anywhere in the GTA. A few changes coming up. If you take a look at our site, you will see that I have posted stuff from the Canadian Universities Field Lacrosse Association. The Back Away Cup weekend now is going to change, whereas it's not a given for the team that's hosting anymore, and a number of other changes. So there will be another article put up about it from me this week, but there's already something up there with the few changes that have come with this, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of different things going on. There's going to be more media coverage. There's going to be more television or social media coverage to get these games out as well. Both Scott Fox, who is the new commissioner, and the assistant commissioner, who I've had a number of talks with, Tom Bolesky, are really passionate about this and are doing some fantastic work moving this forward and using that so-called Rolodex to get things going. And it's going to be a great year of Canadian University Field, and that's almost at our footsteps. You know, we are about a week and a half away from spring, so it's just around the corner. Another thing you can take a look at on our Facebook page is the National Lacrosse League the other day put forth their support towards the Truth and Healing Commission on Indian Boarding School Policies Act. It seeks to investigate the impact and ongoing effects of the U.S. Indian border boarding school policies. Supporting this bipartisan legislation is another step in the league's deepening commitment to the heritage of our game. Up on our page is the entire league statement. So if you want to take a look at that, please go to the All Across All the Time Facebook page. And it was posted by me on Friday. So it's not too far down to scroll. Pretty cool stuff, hey, Mike?
Yes. Glad to see they're continuing that initiative.
There can't be enough done to right the wrongs and to try and get a little bit of closure and move forward whilst learning. I'm dead. If you know me well enough, you know I'm dead set against this cancel culture that we're in the middle of. I believe that we need to, all the histories, we need to take it and learn from it so that we don't repeat it. I see a lot of mistakes made because we've buried things and we're doing the same dumb stuff again. So let's make sure that we don't mess this up. Let's learn. Let's get things straightened away. And with the league putting this to the forefront and with a number of initiatives, I think it's a long time in coming. And finally, we're in the right direction. And let's keep it going that way. And momentum from everybody, which includes all of you at home, is only going to help get this thing rolling in the right direction continuously.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, Arena Lacrosse League. We had some interesting stuff this week. The power rankings have changed quite a bit. Just a few highlights of scores. First of all, Brampton and Oshawa played a slobber knocker over yesterday afternoon at the Children's Arena in Oshawa. And Brampton, who has been hot of late, came away with the 18-13 win. And they never really were behind in this game and just kept rolling. Oshawa, to their credit, had a so-so first half, but really put it together in the second half, giving Brampton a run for their money. This is going to be a great playoff. It's going to be one of the best playoffs in a couple of weeks' time that I've seen in a long time, since probably year one or two. With the just these teams are so close, and it's anybody's ball game. But this was an 18-13 win for Brampton. Your 3 stars was Pant Eistrat from the Express with 5 goals and 2 assists. Gage Board, also from the Express with 4 assists, being a good playmaker. And Colin Matthews, also from the Express, as the 3 stars in this game. The evening game at the Children's Arena last night had the former 1 and 2s. Was the Paris River Wolves against the Whitby Steelhawks. How the mighty have fallen, Mike. Paris is having a little bit of a rough time lately. They've lost 3 in a row now. Whitby, and when you look at the talent on this team, beat them 21-14 in an absolute slugfest last evening. Your friend Curtis Conley is now playing with Whitby. He had a couple of goals with Whitby yesterday.
Excellent.
Again, led by Nikolai Furas, who was the 3rd star. Jordan Sturris, very familiar name, was the first star, a goal and 3 assists for Whitby. Noah Simonelli, who was always big for Paris, 3 goals and 4 assists for Paris. And like I say, Nikolai Ferris with 4 goals and 2 assists for the Steelhawks. I said how deep a lineup it is, and just to prove my point, Luke Keenan, Curtis Conley, Jordan Sturros, Colton Lidstone, Devin Pfeiffer, Nikolai Ferris, Adam Peroni, Tyler Goodchild. It's a heck of a lineup. That's an NLL caliber lineup right there.
Yeah.
Any
of those guys could get signed.
Caleb
right
Martin,
now
Lucas
to a
Coote,
team.
net.
So.
And, you have NLL goalies as well. So that's just a scary good team. Speaking of teams that are on the upswing, this afternoon, the Toronto Monarchs faced the Oswego Bears. And the Monarchs, who now have won a couple in a row and are starting to move back up the power rankings, beat the Bears 18-8. Now, the Bears, man, they started out hot, man. They started out with 2 wins, and they haven't won since, I don't think. I believe it's 10 losses in a row now. And just a real rough afternoon for them. In goal for Toronto is a familiar name again. Craig Wendy had a great day. Just gave up 8 on the day. I really think he's making a move to try and get back to the NLL. I believe he needs another shot there. I think all other things and all the distractions are away now. So a focused Craig Wendy is an asset to any NLL team. And we've seen a number of NLL teams that could use that. So I'm hoping that somebody can open their eyes and say, yeah, he needs another opportunity up there. And you're not going to find a better team guy than him. So 3 stars, Patrick Thompson for the Monarchs, 3 goals and 2 assists. Craig Wendy was the second star, which is 8 goals against. And Jordan Dance of the Monarchs, 4 goals and 1 assist, was the number 3 star. It was ugly early, and it coasted on from there. The Monarchs, I believe, got out to a 7-1 lead in this one in the first. It was 8-3 after 1. Throw at a 6-0 third quarter for the Monarchs out of the dressing rooms, and this game was over long before the fourth ever showed up. So I'm hoping Oswego finds their the N, because they've been going towards the S for a while now. So let's hope they got a couple of weeks left in this season, and let's hope they get a couple of decent weeks going forward. Speaking of decent weeks, our last game of the day was the late game this afternoon at the ILA, and it was the Peterborough Timbermen against the Six Nations Snipers. And we all know Six Nations had a real tough time getting their first win of the year. But since then, they've rhymed off a couple of wins. They beat Peterborough pretty handily. It was 23-13 for the Snipers this afternoon. Ironically, they were tied record-wise because Peterborough's had a rough time of late, losing 5 in a row now. This was another one that was it was a fairly decent first half. It was 10-6 going into the dressing room. Where Peterborough ran out of gas was in the fourth. It was 6-1 for Six Nations in the fourth, and that's all she wrote. Wes Whitlow was the number 1 star for Six Nations, 5 goals, 7 assists. Jason Gasparetti for Peterborough, 3 goals and an assist. Mitch Zulian for Six Nations, 2 goals and 5 assists as the number 3 star. So if we're looking at the standings, Whitby, of course, is in first place by a long shot. Now they are just killing it at 12-1. Brampton is now in second place, through tie breaks ahead of Oshawa, both with 8-5 records. Paris is sitting in fourth at a 7-6 record. The Monarchs are on their tail at a 6-7 record. Peterborough has dropped to 5-7 in sixth. Six Nations at 3-9, and Oswego at 2-11. Our power rankings have Whitby in number 1, who've won 8 in a row. Brampton now have won 7 straight and are in second. The Oshawa Outlaws, who have dropped 2 big ones in the last couple of weeks, including the one to Brampton, are sitting in third. The Toronto Monarchs, who have now won a couple in a row, are in fourth. Paris, who've lost 3 in a row, are in 5th. Six Nations, who beat Peterborough, are now ahead of Peterborough in the power rankings. At 6th, Peterborough moves to 7th, losing 5 straight now. And the Oswego Bears, who have lost 10 in a row, are sitting in 8th. A couple of games upcoming this week in the West. You have the Sea Spray against the Eagles Tuesday night at 7 Pacific. And you have the Grizzlies against the Blackfish on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific as well. Next weekend, you have on the Friday night game, the Brampton Express against the Whitby Steelhawks. This one is going to be a big one. Worth the time, worth the effort to make it to Children's Arena Friday evening. In a rare game in Oshawa. Normally these games Friday are in Brampton. This one is at the Children's Arena in Oshawa. 8 p.m. start Friday, March the 15th. If you want to make it to Saturday, both games are at the Children's Arena in Oshawa as well. You have Oswego against Peterborough in the early game, the 2 p.m. game. But the one I have circled that I am going to be at, the Rocker in Buffalo, and I believe instead of going to Buffalo, I might go to Oshawa. That's how big a game this is. The Toronto Monarchs are going to be facing the Oshawa Outlaws. And look out. That should be a barn burner. 7 p.m. at the Children's Arena, Oshawa. Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m., you have the Snipers against the River Wolves. And that's not a gimme. A few weeks ago, I would have thought it might be, but I think that's anybody's ball game also. So if you happen to be in the Oswego, or in the Hagersville area, you're going to want to get to the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena 2 p.m. Sunday for that game. Again, very inexpensive, NLL caliber games, NLL rules, NLL caliber coaching, and a lot of these guys are making it to the NLL rosters, if not now, in the next year or so. So it's very much worth your time and effort to support these guys and this league. And who knows who you may see. Maybe me. All righty. Let's move on to some movement in the NLL, Mike. First of all, some players of the week from last week. No surprise, the player of the week was Nick Rose. 2 exceptional games on the West Coast, 2 wins, 65 saves in the 2 victories. He had another big one this week, holding the team to under 9 goals again. His goals against average, I believe, is under 9 now. Just astounding. Like, if he's not in the conversation for goaltender of the year again, maybe this year he can actually walk away with the hardware, because I've been a proponent that he's deserved it the last 2 years, and in essence have been robbed. But I don't see anybody close to catching him in these numbers or in these games. And you take a look, you brought up a great point earlier when we were talking off air of the goalies he's beaten and the teams he's beaten. And there's just nobody that can compare records. So I'm hoping that everybody gets their heads out of the sand, and let's leave playoffs where playoffs have been. Who knows? They're looking pretty sharp this year, and who knows? Maybe this is the year that they that trophy gets hoisted. You know, anything's possible. That's the beauty of watching the games, guys.
Yep.
Thomas McConvey was the rookie of the week, and he had a stellar game in the Rochester victory last Sunday with a sock trick. He had another really good game last night, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. A few signings. Colorado signed, as we're talking about ALL players, Parker Pfeiffer to a 1-year deal. The big one here of the week, I believe, is a Connor Farrell 2-year deal with Buffalo. He made an immediate impact, winning 90% of the faceoffs in the game there on Friday. And I imagine had a little to do with Buffalo putting a W up in overtime, one of those faceoffs. But it was a big signing. I'm surprised he wasn't signed by somebody beforehand, but kudos to Chugger for seeing the need, grabbing him. Because obviously Max Heidler isn't coming back this year. Alex Simmons, who's made a lot of news in the NLL this year, he is signed with the California Redwoods of the PLL, and big news. Big news. They just bolstered even more. So that's coming up, Mike. Just around the corner, you know.
Yeah.
Here we are in spring. Mind you, it was -2 today here. Not much very spring weather here today. We got weather by Sybil, man. We're 60 degrees one day. We're 22 degrees the next day. We're 72 degrees the next day. It's no wonder nobody knows up from down. And now you got the time shifting and daylight when there's nighttime and night when there's daylight. And everybody's walking around just kind of just go into a box, you know, box lacrosse, man. We have lights, you know, don't just see outside. Like a casino, we don't put windows or clocks in there.
Climate control too.
That's it. You know, you just lose yourself in there. You know, it doesn't matter if it's summer, winter, spring, fall, you know, indoors. It's where it's at. Dave is with us, man. How are you, Dave?
Hey,
Thank
Dave,
you,
thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for coming in. Awesome. If you hang out for a little bit, Pat will be joining us. Probably closer to the 10 o'clock hour.
No, he can't wait.
He's a little tuckered out, you know. He had a long afternoon over at the Wells Fargo Center today. They went into overtime as well, and we're going to keep you on the hook on that one. All I know is that Mike had a rough week. He lost 3 overtime games. So if you want to look at our pick'ems, you can see it's usually me. I'm usually the one on the wrong side of the overtime losses, so you know I can relate. But I'm happy it's you for a change.
Yeah, not this week.
Not this week. This week, I did okay. I even had okay on my Bet365 card because I followed my advice. A few milestones. Matt Vince, with a great game on Friday night, is now the all-time save leader for the Buffalo Bandits. Congratulations, Vino. Just another in his list of accomplishments for his Hall of Fame career. TJ Camizio with 300 loose balls in his short career. He's moving up the charts very fast, isn't he?
Yep.
Big one here, Shane Jackson, 500 career assists. I don't know if anybody had checked out my my other show on Thursday, but I had John Arlotta, the owner and general manager of the Georgia Swarm, on there, and he was quite candid. Really worth listening to. He was talking about the beginnings in there, and one of the guys who made the move over was Shane Jackson. He talked about everything. His Notre Dame years. He talked about the Arlotta Stadium there and the endowment. He talked about buying Minnesota and then eventually the move and building it from nothing and no programs and, you know, slowly things. And then, you know, the headaches they have that they didn't have in Minnesota, where they had box places to play and set up programs where there's only a few in Georgia and they have to work around that. You know, mind you, San Diego's found a way around that with outdoor boxes. So just a thought.
Yep.
Just a thought. It works well. They have some beautiful ones out there too. And if anything else fails, you know, you can always play on top of an aircraft carrier. Anyways, let's keep moving along here. Dan Craig of the Toronto Rock in his first game back and now is up to 300 points. Congratulations, Dan. And boy, oh boy, it was good to see him in the Toronto lineup. That just rounds out that already potent lineup. And it gave Dan Lintner the ability to roam inside, which warmed my heart because you know me, I love the outside shooting. And I saw a lot of it for a while there last night, and even though they were scoring from the inside, and then they went, wait a minute, we were scoring from the inside. Hence came the fourth quarter, and then they went inside again. And then you'll see that they scored again and again and again. And, of course, Nick Rose with his weekly milestone. He is now 5th all-time in saves as an NLL goaltender with 6,357, and he passes Dallas Eliuk for 5th. That is pretty exceptional company. So all of you Rosie bashers, you can't take it away from the guy. The numbers are there. All the numbers are there. He needs to be goaltender of the year this year. And not just because I'm a Toronto-based Toronto fan. The numbers speak for themselves. So I'll get off my soapbox now, Mike. You know. Well, we appreciate your time with us. Thank you very much. We're doing well. We hope you're doing the same. Dave on Pat being here later. Of course. My God, Pat must be bruised by the end of an episode. I'm telling you, got to be bruised. By the way, I actually much easier time getting in today. Notice I don't have a coat on today. I didn't have to fly in from anywhere. I have been here comfortably, trying to warm up because I was out in that deep freeze. It snowed this morning in here. Didn't see snow in February, but it snowed this morning.
Oh, jeez.
Now it didn't stay, of course. There was flurries, but still, when I got out early this morning, taking my wife to work, and so what is this? Is nuclear fallout or what? Yeah, been in California too long. I spent almost 3 days there. I forgot what snow looked like. Anyways, let's get into some of these games. We're gonna do things a little bit different this week. We're gonna actually show you the highlights first, and then wrap about the games. First of all, on the docket, we have the aforementioned Buffalo against Saskatchewan game, in which Byrne, Smith, Nanticoke, and Cloutier each had hat tricks in the overtime win. Church had a sock trick in the loss. Now, Mike, again, we're talking about sock tricks. We're going to talk about that a few times today. Wow. From this being a fringe thing to this being every week, and not just one, 3 or 4 of them a week. That's pretty amazing that people are telling me the scoring is going down in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't understand that mentality and that concern.
Well, they're obviously not watching all the games, that's for sure. God knows I watch a lot of these things, and man, I really enjoy it. And you know what? I find them to be more exciting than a couple of years ago. Most of them are cliffhangers for the longest point. And even if they may not be 20-17 slobber knockers, giving me a 11-10 overtime one, something like a game like today, which I was on the edge of my seat, even though there was no scoring for a good chunk of the first half. It wasn't that there wasn't any shots. It wasn't that there wasn't any action. It's just showing you just how far the defenses and the goalies have come on either side throughout the league. So, yeah, I don't think that's any concern. All right, let's show the highlights first from the Buffalo Sask game, and we'll jump on it from there.
40 pounds who moves some players out of the way, and here comes from the side. They score! Saskatchewan on the board, 8%. And Dane Smith takes a shot. He scores! What a great Dane! Dashing in from the left side over to Nanticoke, back over to Smith. Smith finds an opening to a running Josh Byrne. He scores! Rush down into the Bandit zone. Score tied at 3 here in the second. A break now for Saskatchewan, and they score. He's got to get back to it, looking for the dribbling ball. He's got control of it. The webbing of his stick back over to Smith. Deaking. Smith for the shot. He scores!
There were some things that could be implemented pre-game and some adjustments during the game, but still letting his coaches help him, and there's a nice goal there by the Rush.
Wow, what a goal by Robert Church. Zone to Josh Byrne. Byrne now moves to the top of the slot. Feed pass over to Cloutier. Cloutier with a shot. Scores! Wheeling it back, we have a player that's down. And slow and getting up as play continues. A diving shot from behind the net. And it's held off. And Justin Smith to Fraser. Fraser now to Cloutier. Cloutier into traffic. Goes to his opposite side. Swim move over the shoulder between the legs. He scores! Over to Byrne, who finds a running. There's a shot. Score! Of the Rush. Byrne leaving it to Fraser. Now to Smith. In front. The shot. Score! Buffalo! Across the Buffalo restraining line. Saskatchewan from the top of the slot. Leaving it to Dodds. There's a front shot by Church. He scores! And Saskatchewan mounts another attack down into the Buffalo zone, led by Triolo. Into traffic. A shot. Score! Keenan. And the Rush take on the offense side to get some rhythm. And across the line is Smith now to McKay with a drive. He scores! Dodds is there from the left wing side. Comes in close. One arms the pass out in front to Church. Dekes away at the pressure. And the ball is left for Dodds again. He scores! 25 seconds left to play into the third quarter. 11-10. Rush. Pass out in front is Kostiuk scores! With Smith, 1-2 punch on this man advantage. Now Smith from Byrne. Smith with a nice move. Scores! To Mans, he takes the shot just over the right side of Matt Vince. Rebound with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. They score! In regulation, Buffalo attacking down into the Saskatchewan zone. Manicoke with 3, looking for 4. Leaves it back for Byrne with a shot. He scores! Resetting the shot clock. Byrne with composure. On the ball, top of the slot, leaving it back. Quick stick, score!
Heck of a game. Couple of things stand out to me. First of all, Marvel Comic Night, weren't those sweet Bandit jerseys?
Yes.
Those have been my favorites of all of them so far. That just was great. I thought it was done beautifully. A couple of things in this game that stood out to me. Number one, we're talking about Matt Vince just coming back from injury and maybe looking a little rusty. He faced 61 shots, guys. He faced 61 shots. They got the victory. Yes, 14 went in, but that's a lot of rubber, especially in your first game back. The other one is, of course, Connor Farrell winning 27 of 33 faceoffs. So was it a good signing? I think it was. Now, the other thing that stood out to me is this game. We talk about back and forth, and we use that term a lot. There was no 2-goal lead in this game. There were 14 ties in this game. Talk about an even game. You want a game that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat? This I found to be one of the most entertaining games I watched of the weekend. And I watched a lot of games this weekend. And I found this to be in my top 3 of the 8 games in the NLL and, talking ALL as well. Really, really an exceptionally played game on both sides. If we take a look, Robert Church, of course, with a sock trick. Tehoka Nanakoke, 4 goals, including the overtime winner with a quick stick, and just how dangerous he can be. Good to see him healthy again. Another name that we've talked about and wondered where he'd been all year, Patrick Dodds is starting to get his feet under him, eh?
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, just bouncing back to the Buffalo thing, I'm still a little concerned. Yeah, you won. Yeah, you're at 500. You still have 2 difficult home games left.
Next week is going to be a big one against Toronto.
Yeah, and because I hate sounding like I'm always so biased against them or skeptical of them, but fans have been screaming for a face-off guy. You got a face-off guy. He excelled this weekend. Fans have been wondering where the power play went. The power play was on fire this weekend. Fans have been saying, you got to change something up. The offense is the same all the time. They pretty much played Dane Smith in transition the entire game.
They also moved him into Josh Byrne's slot in the center of the floor. And that's why you're starting to see Dane Smith score again. The only reason they moved him the first time was because he was snake bit early on in the year and switched it, and Byrne really excelled in that spot.
Yeah, so, you have all that, plus Matt Vince coming back, and you still needed to go to overtime to beat Saskatchewan, who's, I'm not, they're no slouches, but, they're fighting right now, just to
get in the playoffs.
Fit into the playoffs. So, and this is a week after losing to Vancouver.
And yet he's correct. Matty
So-
has missed, as you can see, 3 games he missed. They lost all 3, and neither goalie looked good in those things. So the team goes as Vince goes, but he's not going to play until he's 60, guys. There has to be contingency plans in there. If Shanahan, Orleman aren't the ones for it, they need to start looking. And I believe I mentioned a guy over in the ALL who's really working hard and trying to get back. Never mind. Yeah, it's not part of the Muffler Mike fan club parade, but maybe the Craig Wendy parade can start to, moving through Toronto here. Anyways, he's not far off in Kitchener, so he's pretty close to the Buffalo area, guys. It wouldn't be a stretch for him to make it over there.
Yep.
So, just putting that out there. But yeah, Buffalo's power play you mentioned, they went 3 for 3. Note to self: don't take penalties against Buffalo. Don't retaliate. They love getting under your skin, so you take dumb penalties because they have that power play that's just lights out. And guys like Josh Burns, 7 assists. Well, now you see it, right? Smith and him switched, and Smith scoring, and now Byrne is picking up record assists here, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but just to bounce back to what you were asking about Saskatchewan. Yeah, it is nice to see Patrick Dodds starting to pick up his game again. To where it was. When he was with Panther City.
It's also good to see Ryan Keenan come back to life there with 3 goals and 4 assists. Him in search for the majority of that offense over on Friday night.
Absolutely, and he's the captain, so stepping up and leading, and that the defense is young, so as much as you might have some doubts now or not be happy with their performance, this is a unit that's going to be together for a while, so they're going to grow, they're going to get that chemistry down, and pretty soon, it's going to be similar to what fans were seeing in, 15, 16, 17, 18, when they won 3 championships in 4 years. So.
Right. Now, look out. We were talking about how the offense needs to spread out in Buffalo, right? And we can't just keep relying on 1 or 2 guys. Nanakok had 4 goals. Kluche had 3 goals. McKay had a goal in transition. Byrne had a great night with 4 goals, 7 assists. Smith with 3 goals, 7 assists. So you're getting it from everybody. Fraser chipped in with 3 assists himself. So everybody was getting involved in play. So if they're going to start getting everybody in there, they become a scary team again. It's whether their defense can hold up and whether Vince can hold up or whether he's got all the rust shaken off. Because they say next week is going to be a big test over in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also to work for the tiebreak because Buffalo came in and stole a game in Toronto, 16-14. So Toronto needs to win by 3 to, get that tiebreak back. So a lot of things side play on all this. But that was our first game of the day, of the weekend. We move over to the Georgia-Calgary game next. And as we can see here, I said it in my pick'ems that Andrew Q is going to have a big night. 3 goals and 3 assists. Overtime win over the Roughnecks. Pace scores 5 in the loss. He's been on fire. Tyler Pace has really, really had a great year so far. But let's take a look at the highlights, and then we'll get back with our opinions.
Yeah, Chris, Lyle Thompson told me yesterday that he has seen Zach Miller take huge steps from week 1. I'll let you take that one, Chris. We can finish this in a minute.
Was off the boards. Better hurry. Left-handed ripper. Dobson. It was on top of Dobson. He made the save, and then the scoop on the rebound is put in. Is that really going to happen? Apparently. I just thought that was a bunch of conjecture. Something to get people cooked up. Speaking of getting cooked up, Seth Oakes. Type shot there. sidewinder with no force, however, and it's picked up by Kaysen Tarbell. Oh, an intercepted pass, and then it's thrown into the net. Holy smokes.
He's got that lip curl up there. He's got the, oh my! Oh, baby!
The penalty killed off. Henrik comes out. Georgia will slowly start to get the offense going. That'll help.
Clock and cue, the magician right there almost made something from nothing.
Oh, speaking of making something from nothing. An absolute laser beam. Pass was knocked away, and Calgary comes away with it, and they'll push. Eli Salama, fresh off the IR.
He now has 4. So for whatever reason, he went from 5 to 4, so he still needs 2.
For the dunk!
Oh, baby!
Score tonight, and we've also seen both defenses who can be very good at times be very good tonight.
And look at that again from behind the goal. Getting to the latter stages. They've struggled in this regard.
Bounce shot in. Josh Courier. Justin?
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
You know, they're human beings. They're great, phenomenal athletes.
Oh, my!
Oh, Lyle.
Someone make sure the life, like the little worms and the grubs and things like that are... Saved by Del Bianco. Uh-oh. There it is. The connection. Looks for the tie and has it. Calgary score. As Jesse King. No, not Jesse King. They got it wrong on the scorecard here. I'll get it right. Jeff Conwall who's in the box, and the official call is cross-checking. Short-handed now. Behind the back. Oh, and it's in. It's in. By Bomberry. 8 on the shot clock. He'll drive in. Send one in the middle. Thompson loses the handle. Q picks it up. Shoots and scores! 12 on the shot clock. Try for the dunk. Yes, 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 yes.
And there you have it, the overtime victory for Georgia. You know what's really heartwarming, Mike, just before we get in the game? You notice all the people?
Yes.
That fan base is big, and I talk with her a lot about that too, and their patience and, growing it and marketing to the kids. Because if you market the biggest party in town, you sell one ticket to an adult. If you market to the kids, first off, you get a long-term fan base. But secondly, you get the mom and dad, uncle and aunt, grandfather, grandmother, brothers and sisters, and you build out. And that's what they've done. And
It's got to get there somehow, right?
Kudos that this is starting to catch fire in Georgia.
Yeah, well, I was going to say one of the first things I just in watching that highlight package, you were just talking about how much you despise Toronto, kind of relying on that outside shot, and about 2/3 of those highlight goals were shots from way outside. I mean, geez, one of Q's I think was from the airport in Atlanta.
Yes, it works sometimes, but more times than not, you're firing at that bullseye we call a logo, and that doesn't work. You start getting Class A goalies like Brett Dobson, you get Class A goalies like Matt Vince, Nick Rose. Those things aren't going in.
Right.
Anyways, hey, how you doing, Brian? Thank you for being with us.
Fine.
I know you had a rough afternoon. Hopefully, you had a good time at the Wells Fargo Center. Oh, anyways.
Yeah, so Georgia wins this one in overtime, and one of the things you didn't see was this nearly went the other way in overtime. Not too long before Zach Miller's dunk to win it, Tanner Cook had a crease dive that the shot bounced off Brett Dobson, then bounced off Cook's helmet and into the net. But unfortunately, he hit the crease before the ball crossed the line, so the goal was disallowed. But that would have been quite the interesting way to finish off an overtime win.
Absolutely.
But,
Looking at the
like
numbers of this game, shots for Georgia, a little bit ahead, 58-51. Faceoffs almost even at 15-14 for Georgia. Power plays, both were kind of so-so. 1 for 2 for Calgary, 1 for 3 for Georgia. So really, there's nothing that really stands out to me as being exceptional. But then you start looking at guys like Tyler Pace, who just had great games and put Calgary on his back. Without him, where are they?
Pretty much, yeah. Five goals and an assist. Tanner Cook had a pair of his own. Jesse King, a goal and 4 assists, but he's had a bit of a rough season. Some games he's on, some games he's kind of just not putting up the numbers that
he is able to find a post when there is no post. He has hit more posts. I wish there was a stat for it than anybody I can possibly think of this season. You almost want to call him Jesse King.
Who are the league leaders in hit posts?
I'm going to say Jesse Ding King. And here we are. Because, man, I'm telling you, every game is at least 2 or 3 that he's clanking off of the crossbar or the post. Quarter inch one way, and all of a sudden he's got an extra 15 goals in a year.
Right. I guess if there's one thing that does stand out, and not in a good way, Hayden Dixon just off the scoreboard completely for the night. So tough game for him. But
right.
Calgary, I want to say they have a fairly favorable schedule going forward. I mean, they're 5-7, so right now they're just outside the playoff window. But it's a little rough. They've got San Diego, they've got Albany, then they have a home and home with Saskatchewan. That'll be big, and
that'll be for the playoffs. One of those teams isn't going. That'll be for the playoffs.
Then they have, this will be rough, at Buffalo, and then home against Panther City to finish.
That's a tough schedule.
So they don't have it. They don't have it as easy as I thought they did. But
right. It's good to have Eli Salama back. It was nice to see him in the lineup. He had a goal and assist and 4 loose balls. They've really missed him.
Absolutely. I mean, I think at this point they just need to keep running, and it's as difficult as it is to rely on transition goals as part of your offense. It's really going to need him, Shane Simpson, Ticehurst, Jeff Cornwall to keep producing.
Right. On the other side, though, when you have a guy like Lyle Thompson, excuse me, who isn't having the biggest of nights, 2 goals, 2 assists, which by Lyle Thompson standards is kind of subpar. Then you have somebody like an Andrew Q who's going to pick up the reins with 3 goals and 3 assists. Zach Miller, who's going to have 3 goals and an assist in there as well. Seth Oakes, who's been steady all year. And then the big one, when Shane Jackson isn't scoring, 7 assists, which helped get him to his milestone of 500. But, you have other guys, next guy up mentality. Jeremy Thompson with 11 loose balls in the process. Brett Dobson being solid in net. The ones that beat him were there weren't any cheapies that really went on him. So,
yeah. John Rannigan, 3 caused turnovers as well. So that's always big help on the back end. And again, this was the first of a 5-game homestand to finish the season for Georgia. So to get a win obviously is huge. Helps them out even more, as we'll see a little later when we talk about Halifax and San Diego. They leapfrog a spot into 4th place in the standings right now, which means a home game for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to not have to leave home now for a month and a half, maybe more.
Sure. And not to be a broken record, but over the next 4 games coming, I'm curious about the fan base. If there's this much there now, when it's been sporadically at home, when they can build momentum week to week to week and really market it 1 week to the next, and these guys can get excited and tell their friends about it. Let's take a look and see what the attendance numbers will be by the end of the season, heading into playoffs, which really, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, they get that home playoff game,
and then actually have a home field advantage for the first time since they've moved from Minnesota. So, that's going to be spectacular. All right, let's move forward. We got the Albany and Vancouver game as the last game on Friday night. Albany continued to be hot in this thing. 13-8, they beat Vancouver. Longboat scores 4 goals to lead the Firewolves to the 4th straight win. Second team in the NLL to hit 10 wins. Big time. Let's take a look at the highlights, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Second quarter underway. Great to have you with us. Friday night, and Albany scores. Longboat squirts one by Walsh.
To Walsh.
That's the size of Vancouver's defense on display. Kostiuk, the steal, fires, scores!
On defensively overall.
There has been more movement in the second. Daryl Gibson, the OC, must like it. And that time, that's all about will to pump that goal in at NLL.com and the league's social media channels. Cooper is like a mad scientist, the way he cranks out the numbers each and every week. Massive, not just for the Vancouver morale itself, but the landscape of the league as Ball whistles one in. Only a matter of time for Keegan Ball to get cooking. Second half is underway. 10 seconds for a fan to win wings for a year, and he does! In the first 55 seconds. Circles back. 15 seconds remain in the 5-on-4. Simmons dishes. Walker scores! Third time's a charm. Floor. Longboats up top. They've been mixing their patterns here with the extra man. A hat trick for Longboat.
Are negative. They're a -2 in terms of goals, and from a shots perspective, they're a -16. So the generation in quarter 4 has favored the opponent, and that's exactly.
Kostiuk in transition. Walker with a power play goal. Dan noted this earlier. Simmons has 5 assists. Lead it in and score. Nathan Grennan. Keegan Ball steps down and scores. Hat trick for Ball. Hit Prancing. Has 1 goal tonight on the power play. Longboat comes around. Number 4.
Albany.
And how fitting on Indigenous Celebration Night. Another goal for Albany. You blink and they add another tally. From now, the NLL trade deadline. So you go. All games available on ESPN+. A snipe. The delivery by Simmons. His first goal of the night.
Fourth, maybe the biggest one in terms of keeping momentum for the home squad tonight.
Yeah, that first goal of the 4th. There's Ball with his 4th of the evening. Charlon Beatties is denied. Jamison airs it out. Watkinson. He's got time and he scores.
And there it was. Now, it's easy to pile on Vancouver saying, yeah, it's another loss. I tend to look at the first quarter as a huge victory. You took a hot Albany team and you took a goalie that does not a lot of seasoning in the NLL, and you held them scoreless. In fact, the entire game was scoreless through that first quarter. I was wondering if they were ever going to see a goal at one point because it was just so defensively minded, both teams strong. That Vancouver defense really is huge and bruising. And eventually they found some cracks in it that they were able to score. But that's my positive take out of this because, yes, I can find a lot of negatives. I can find faceoffs where Nardella went wild and went 123 of 25. I can find the power play that, Albany went 3 for 6, and Albany doesn't have a very good power play and still made it 3 for 6. And Vancouver only had 1 opportunity and they made good on it. So I can look at those things. 22 penalty minutes to 2. I can look at all kinds of things. So I prefer to look at the positives there and the Molosky style that is starting to show up more and more. It's 3-2 after one half. That's a win in my eyes against, the number 1, number 2 team in the league that has been that good all year and put up that many goals all year. Yes, things are going to happen, but to their credit, Albany did score 7 times in the fourth. Vancouver did score 5 times in the fourth. So, you had numbers. Travis Longboat had a great night for Albany with 4 goals. Keegan Ball had a great night for Vancouver with 4 goals. Charlemagne Beatty's had another big night with 4 assists. Alex Simmons, of course, he's on pace to be the guy, right? It's something about ahead of Jeff Teat, yeah?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he had, he had 61 points, I believe, going into the weekend. So I believe he's still on pace to break Jeff Teat's rookie scoring record.
Right. Now, what stands out to me here is penalty minutes. Jackson Subak, again, 12 minutes in penalties. He's a good player, and I've watched him since he was in Mimico. And yes, he's a tough guy, and yes, he's a big guy, but he needs to control it and pick his spots. It can't just be free-for-all because it's hurting the team. When you take a look at penalty minutes, and the leading penalty minute getter is Joey Nardella, who had 2 for the Albany Firewolves. Why do Albany keep winning? Because they don't take stupid penalties, and they don't put themselves in positions where they're not going to be able to cover themselves. So if they do that, 16 out of 18 games, guess what? We're talking about the number 1, number 2 seed with the other team that doesn't get a lot of penalties.
Yep.
Funny how that works. To take a look at some of the big scores, I was impressed with Colton Watkinson. He had 2 goals and an assist, and one of the goals, of course, was into the semi-empty net where Aiden Walsh didn't quite make it back in time. But as a leader, there's nothing he's not going to do. You need him to bang around, he's going to bang around. You need him to set picks, he's setting picks. You need him to score, he's scoring. As a leader, I've watched him mature, so have you, Mike, over the years.
Absolutely.
And he is your perennial what a leader should be in this league.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
The team goes as he goes. You take a look, Alex Simmons didn't get a lot of goals. He only had 1 goal in this game, 6 assists. So all these guys are doing what it takes to get it done.
Yeah. Finding other ways and just I mean, if anyone is still doubting them, I mean, they're just there's no fear in this team at all. They're not concerned about being in the spotlight. They're,
I agree.
Utica, definitely Walker, and something I've noticed just over the course of the whole season with Walker. He is biggest for Albany right off the initial faceoff and at the end of the game. Go and look at just about any Albany box score. You're going to find him scoring a goal almost right off the bat.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the first, say, 5 minutes of the game, almost every single game. And you're going to find him scoring the last 5 minutes of the game, almost every single game.
Right.
It's a nail in the coffin type goal, or something to, force overtime, or, tie up a game, go ahead goal. He shines biggest right at the start and right at the end of the game.
Right.
So
I'm also really impressed with Nathan Grennan. Now, I've mentioned this many times. He was in the Brampton organization when I was on the board of directors over there, and really shined, especially in his last year junior when they had the bubble tournament. And he would do anything. You want grit, you want scoring, you want fighting, whatever you needed from him, he did. And that's translated now, first in Panther City, but now here he's really found a home, and he fits into this Glenn Clark system beautifully. And he was everywhere, in your face, in front, setting picks, got a couple of goals in this game as well. And, at a stage when it was 3-2, these are meaningful goals. When you look at it as a 5-goal win, not when these things happened. There's a reason why these things piled in, because they're able to, persevere, and bit by bit by bit by bit, they're there to get the win. So, kudos to Albany. They go to 10-2 at this point of the weekend, looking very, very strong.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move over to our other top team, and now we're into Saturday, and the Colorado Mammoth jaunt over to First Ontario Centre in Hamilton to face the Toronto Rock, and Dan Lintner leads the Rock with a hat trick. Rose makes 38 saves as the Rock win their 5th straight. Just a spectacular game overall from both sides. Yes, the Colorado offense is, and just for one little thing, yes, you're right. He's doing a great job, both as coach and as GM. I think he's a fantastic person. He showed his really colors last year when he had so many injuries and used it as a year to find other diamonds in the rough so that when everybody came back, he's got this. And you take a look what happened. And then wait till next year when you get Dyson Williams part of this and see how this all fits together. And it's very, very bright there.
Also mentioned Will Johansson.
That too, yeah.
You know, they were supposed to have him this year. So, emerging top defense, gets another young stud.
All right. Let's have a look at some of the highlights here of this Rock game. Very interesting game. Very back and forth, showing that this is a game of runs.
She couldn't reel it in. Saved, though. Still some time for Toronto. Into the middle. Lintner scores! Bullying the competition. Lintner gives the Rock the lead. Here's Bushi. On to Tom Schreiber. Schreiber shoots. That sneaks through, and Schreiber scores. A 3-goal run to open for the Rock. And Connor Kelly tonight. Colorado. Tail end of the power play, they make good. Nice look and finish from McLaughlin, who get Colorado on the board. Oh, stopped by Ward, who read that with a left leg. In transition, Mammoth up the floor quickly, stopping at the top. Nice move by Garrison to Barry. What patience and precision from Tyler Garrison, and the Mammoth have scored 2 straight. Bushi, Small, Schreiber. Power play look, Matthews. Bushi, quick stick, scores! Chris Bushi continues his hot play and gives Toronto the lead. Craig. On to Wardle. Right down Main Street, McLaughlin scores. What a pass from Wardle, and McLaughlin makes no mistake to tie it up for Colorado. They're well. That was Brad Cree, I believe, deflecting that one away. Now a low ball, they score. Not much room to work, but Gibson will find a hole. Matthews moves, swims, dishes. Dowd couldn't go up to get it. Lintner the save, tucks it in! 3rd of the game is a beauty from Dan Lintner. Both goaltenders in a groove. Small trying to change that. Stop Ward. Rebound. Oh, what a goal! Zach Kearney. Put that in your highlight reel. Schreiber steps out, shoots, scores!
Doesn't it mark you a little bit funny that the 2 smallest guys on the Rock are the 2 guys going inside? Dan Lintner and Zach Kearney, both with great goals. That counts for 4 of those goals. Is inside right there. And Chris Bushi off to the side with a quick stick, doing the Corey Small thing from the other side. So, very, very strange games of runs. It looked like Toronto was going to run away with this thing. Getting out to a 4-0 lead in the first. They took it right from the beginning. Dan Lintner, just 1 minute and 45 seconds in, scoring. And then a lot of back and forth. It was a track meet, both teams. And transition, of course, with Joey Capito there. He got a goal in this game, but they tried this time and time and time again. And Nick Rose was stellar. There were a number of saves that I just had to look at the replays going, how in the did he make that save? Using everything, shoulders, helmet, stick, whatever, getting anything in the way of these things and diving for a big man, diving back and forth. Really, really spectacular stuff. Come into the second, and Toronto takes a penalty, and Colorado make them pay. We've been talking about this already before. Eli McLaughlin with a power play goal, followed by Tyler Garrison just seconds later. Bang. We're at 2. Jordan Gillies makes it 3. Joey Capito off a long lead pass from Dylan Ward, and he made no mistake, and we were tied. We talked about the Chris Bushi quick stick with just under 5 minutes left in the second on the power play, and Toronto went up 5-4 going into the half. Coming out of the half, and again, Colorado gets a quick start. Eli McLaughlin with another. Tyson Gibson over with a power play goal, and they're ahead 6-5, and the First Ontario Center is sitting there scratching their head going, it's not supposed to be this close. It just isn't. Dan Craig gets them on their feet, 6-6. Tyson Gibson again off of Zed Williams' feed. Zed Williams quietly, and didn't get a lot of points, but quietly was doing his thing. Big body, moving people out of the way, and creating a lot of havoc because you know what kind of shot he's got. So he creates a lot of attention. Then, of course, we saw the Dan Lintner goal from the inside, diving across the crease. It was actually reviewed, and it was deemed a good goal. He wasn't anywhere near the crease. We go into the fourth, and it's all Toronto. Now, interestingly enough, and this doesn't show up in the stats, I was messaging back and forth with Guido Catoni around the end of the third, talking about the Toronto defense not looking as good as they have, a little bit confused in spots, and making Rosie make a lot of saves that he normally wouldn't have to. Well, doesn't Bruce Codd have a little meeting with his defensive core between the third and fourth? And what happens? They shut down Colorado to no goals in the fourth. They got on the same page.
Difference.
Yeah, but that's a coach who knows how to coach and knows what it takes to get everybody back on the same page. Because it wasn't a scream fest. It wasn't he just had his iPad out, and he was discussing a few things with the core, and everybody was in the meeting for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and bang, they get back, and they are completely a different defensive core. The rock defensive core that we're used to seeing, and nobody was getting through. We saw the Kearney goal, which was just a howitzer from out front. Ward really had no chance. We had a couple of wild goals in there. Mitch DeSnew and Chris Weir both in transition getting goals. Tom Schreiber with another beauty in the fourth. The goal that he got in the first was I would say a lucky one. It was one that Ward had saved, but the momentum kept it squirting, and off it went. Mark Matthews with another beauty with a couple of minutes to go in the game, and that sealed it. And Toronto comes up with the big victory. A couple of notes here. TD Erlin went to town. Faceoffs, we're talking about them, 20-4. Any question about how good he is?
Yeah.
Now, Toronto didn't do well on the power play. They only went 1 for 4. But, if that was working like it normally is, this game's even further away. The one thing that stood out to me is there was nobody on the Colorado offense, defense, or anywhere else that got more than 2 points in this game. Nobody. Connor Robinson, 2 assists. Capito, 1 goal. McLaughlin, 2 goals. Gibson, 2 goals. Garrison, 1 goal. Brett Craig, 2 assists. That's it. You're not winning any games when you only have 7 goals, and a couple of them are from transition. I don't care who you have in there. You can have Ward, you can have Del Bianco, you can have Elliott all together, and you're still not winning if you're only scoring 7 goals. Simple. For Toronto,
and they were short Connor Kelly, if I'm not mistaken. So
again, in Toronto, Mark Matthews, up until 2 minutes left in the game, hadn't scored, but he had 6 assists. Doing what you got to do. Dan Lintner with 3 goals. Schreiber, 2 goals, 4 assists. Chris Bushi with a goal and 3 assists. Corey Small didn't score, but 3 assists. And doing the small things. Josh Dahlwick with another big game. setting picks, and a goal and an assist. And the goal, again, was another outside howitzer. He's got this low-to-low or sidearm to low shot that just finds the far corner and just alludes to the toe of the goalie. And he's got such good accuracy. It's a, I've known him since he was a little kid sitting across the aisle from me. So it's great to, vicariously watch him as an LLR. It's just fun. And it'll be fun watching his brothers too when they come up. But The Rock put together another thing. Thank you. Very good. Thank you to have you with us, Eddie. It's great to have you with us.
Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I mean,
they're just so good is right.
So good. And I guess bouncing to the other side now with Colorado, I think it's pretty clear that
something has to happen.
Yeah. And the trade deadline's only 2 days away now. So, I think the question becomes, who do they sell
and for what? Yeah.
Yeah. And how do they retool to kind of get back to where they were 2 years ago?
Well, Mike, we got a treat. We got
do.
a treat. Oh, we do. My man. Pat has made it from the Wells Fargo, the bowels of hell for him. And he has made it to us. Are you intact? Are you all in one piece?
I think so. I feel like I need to be like the Wizard of Oz movie, and I feel like the monkey fly just ripped me apart. I feel that's how I feel inside, just empty right now. And what happened is in Wells Fargo Center, I just felt like every Wings fan, every Philadelphian that was down there supporting their Philadelphia Wings are just lost for words. I felt like everyone knew the season was on the line. I felt like if you would have got just a win today, would have put you in a much happier and pleasant spot of where you're at now. But unfortunately, I think Panther City just came on that much more of an edge, that much more hungrier. And listen, credit to those. Yeah,
before we get rolling with your take, we're gonna again, Damoud made 48 stops. Malcolm scores a hat trick for a dramatic overtime win. We're gonna show the highlights first, Pat, and then we're gonna get your take on it, just to get a little different feel on this, so everybody knows exactly what you.
He's like, can we not roll the clip, please? I just lived it.
So if you need to go get a beverage at this time, this is probably a good time to get to your fridge.
Come back in a couple of minutes.
Crawford may be missing.
And here's Will Malcolm, who's right behind Crawford in the overall scoring, and he gets the first goal of the day. Will Malcolm bounces home his 25th of the year.
Now with Callum Crawford out of the lineup, look for number 4 to start the offense and make things happen.
Quick over the top shot, beats Zach Higgins down low. Jonathan Donville firing one in. Are ruling the roost right now. Here's Malcolm with a shot. That was deflected wide. Dunk attempt over the crossbar and in. What an effort by Ryan Sheridan. New shot clock here for the Wings as they get set up. Katoni behind the back, quick stick, Reardon scores! Blaze Reardon on the power play. Ever to have 14 points in a game twice in his career. Here's Donville dishing it off. Here's a shot, they score! To the net, Caputo finds some room behind Higgins.
Look at him, you think he's a 280-pounder, 310-pounder like some of the other goaltenders in the league, but there's a goal by Malcolm.
Will Malcolm with his second of the game found the ball. Now Clark gets it back, fresh 30 up. Clark shot, save, rebound, score! Sam Leclerc! Shot wide, but it comes off the boards to Rezaterets clean. Here's Rezaterets to the net, save made, rebounds, and they score! And it's Katoni again!
Really propelled them here to get to a tie game in the fourth quarter.
Well, we'll see if that rebound strategy continues here, as again, that seems to be how the Wings figured out how to solve Damoud. But right off the hop here, Panther City gets one off the opening face-off. Panther City, as they had a mishap in the wrong spot on the floor. And here's a shot stopped by Damoud. Quickly off the bench was Leclerc. And Damoud again up to the task. Now the other way. Here's Pottenbill with a shot. He scores. Jonathan Donville. Our officials will get to that as Donville's got it. Puts it down low. A shot. Sheridan scores. And Panther City has answered.
This is where Ben McIntosh is so dangerous behind the net. That's where he's set up right now.
Rezaterrence scores. Joe Rezaterrence. 14 to shoot. Wings will start. Higgins is headed back to his goal crease. They score! On the floor. Pulled free by Panther City. They're the closest to it. It's picked up. It's lost. Rowlett back after it. Here's a chance. Save made by Higgins on Tyler Burton. Around. Left side in front. Knox. Save made. Rebound loose. They score! It's Phil Caputo in front.
Oh, that left.
Can't take it.
I'm telling you, you can't blame that one on Higgins, man. He was left hung out to dry with that rebound, and Caputo put in the winner and deked him out of his shorts. My God.
Yeah.
But, again, I brought this up last week. Is Philly of early in the season, they would have crumbled in that fourth. This Philly team actually was able to come back in the fourth.
Take it no more. I couldn't take it. No, it's.
He ran down the street.
I got to give Ben McIntosh his due. I mean, he had a hat trick again. Same. Leclerc looks like he's starting to find himself more and more to the net. Holden Katoni had a great game today. Being a facilitator, a playmaker, finding the back in that as well with 1 goal, but he had 4 assists. Just him and Joe Rezaterrence just with a nice little yes. They had a nice little game together, a nice little chemistry late in the fourth. But I mean, there was just periods of stretches where this team was just ice cold though, and that's what hurt them. I mean, on both sides of the ball. I mean, defense, they looked like they were just leaving guys wide open for the Panther City just to unload on. And then you had on the offensive side of the ball, they couldn't find the back of the net. I mean, so it just left the head scratching. So I mean, it's unfortunately that's the way it just happened tonight.
Yeah, we were just talking as you were coming back. Certainly one bright spot was the resolve they showed at the end of the second and at the end of the fourth. With those flurries to get back into the game, and yeah, I'll definitely.
I'll agree with that one too because he had no points.
I will agree with that. I think he did. I felt like he got banged up a bit in the second half, and just kind of wasn't kind of getting around the way we're used to seeing.
But he had no points in the first half either. So like he only got a point at the very end. So he needs to be like Pat said many times, the facilitator. If he's not scoring, he needs to be in. He needs to be the quarterback. He needs to be able to get that thing moving and get everybody set up for where they need to be. He's the one who's going to feed Rezaterrence. He's the one who's going to feed Katoni, either Katoni. And, if he's not doing that, then they're going to be suffering and not getting a whole lot of points. By the way, I mentioned to you, Mike, I was talking with Guido Katoni yesterday. Today is his birthday, and I was hoping for him that his boys would gift him a win today. And, I guess they're going to have to go with a bottle instead.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad. And now the big question is 48 hours from now, and just with the body language I seen from Paul Day today, it just looked like that was the season. And like I said, so I wonder if there's going to be I'm not going to say there's going to be a significant change within the next 48 hours, or what's going to happen with this team moving forward. I mean, I kind of asked the question at the end of the interview. I said, are you guys thinking there's going to be, some kind of movement or something? And they said that's up to the management right now. So, I mean, because I feel like this team's kind of underachieved for what it looked like on paper. So, But only Paul Day can answer those kind of questions, and I'm curious to know what's going to go through his mind. Like I said, in the next 48 hours.
It's the question now is because we've talked about the defense forever. This wasn't a
Yeah.
defense. This was an offensive lapse. There was no offense for the longest time for big chunks of this game. And then, like Brian had mentioned there, bad shot selections, early in the clocks, doing all the things that you're told not to, and everybody's trying to do too much. Everybody's becoming popular. It's not a team effort. So somebody has to rein it in. Is it coaching? Is it players not listening to coaching? Because we know Jeff McComb, he's a great coach offensively. So for them not to pick up on it with the talent that they have, I'm a little bit at a loss on this one. Same thing with Paul Day, very successful throughout NLL and MSL as well as man, very successful. And for some reason, it's just not working. So something has to happen. He made big changes last year for the better, and now things are flatlining again. So what has to happen?
Yeah, well,
and
I was going to say that schedule's looking a little more daunting now than it did, in the wake of this loss. You're looking at Georgia. Then you've got Vancouver and Saskatchewan both at home. The Saskatchewan game in particular is kind of a boon for them because, they're catching Saskatchewan in the middle of that 5 games in 15 days stretch that they have. But then they host Buffalo that same weekend. So they get 3 straight after the Georgia game. But, that Buffalo game will also be a doubleheader weekend for Philly. So Thursday, Saturday, I think. So, and then you're finishing with 3 away games at Panther City, at Colorado, at Rochester. So,
and 2 of those 3 are really tough games. So
yeah, it's looking a little more difficult than it did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and when you look at it too, and just remember, you only have 1 win at home, and again, it just and Gary, like you said, and it kind of puzzled my mind. I think Paul Day is a great GM, but the coaching, if you feel like the team is not listening to your message, and then there has to be some kind of change at some point, unless maybe you just got to face that in the mirror. I mean, like you said, maybe it's not him, maybe it's the offensive coordinator or defense, but something needs to change if the message is not getting across to the players. And again, just like I said, when I saw during the stretches of guys just not be able to find the back of that defense, leaving guys getting wide open, and I get the set screens and all those things, but there's times I find that, Panther City, they were just wide open, picking their shots, and unfortunately for the Philadelphia Wings, it's just, again, another shortcoming at home. Granted, I got to give Higgins his due, and I know this sounds crazy, 2 weeks in a row, and I think my man listens to this podcast. I think he wants to hit me with a ball. But no, I think he did a phenomenal job there. Yes. I think he does did do a phenomenal job again today. It's just the defense in front of him, when you're leaving wide open shots, it leaves that 1-on-1. And today, I got to give the credit, his due. He stopped a lot of breakaway goals today, which could have been really, really scary. But no, he stopped a lot. So I got to give him his due there. Like I said, it's just unfortunately there was just mayhem on both sides. But mostly your offense is supposed to be this high, offensive scoring juggernaut. I think it's kind of watered down now.
Yeah, because just looking at the shots, right? You're looking at Jonathan Donville at 11 shots. He had 2 goals. That's pretty good because those are quality shots. He doesn't take cheapies. Same thing with Will Malcolm. 3 goals, but he had 10 shots.
Yeah, and that was something that I commented during the game. That both teams were getting a lot of high quality looks early on.
Yeah,
and both goalies were standing tall. Keeping it a low scoring affair. But going back to what Pat's saying about the next 48 hours. I gotta wonder. I gotta wonder if you kind of go with a little bit of a hybrid here with your strategy. I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced that they're just outright sellers yet. The same way I would be with say Colorado. You know, I think it's safe. I think it's safe for any of us to say right now, Colorado is a definite seller at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't see themselves. You know, I mean, they're 4-9. You know, we've been talking all season that 9-9 is probably, you know, going to be at a minimum what you need to make a playoff spot. And there's a possibility that 9-9 does not get you into the playoffs still.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't look that way right now because there's a couple of teams that are in playoff spots right now, like New York, that are sub 500. But, you know, there's still a decent amount of season left to go.
Absolutely.
And you know, you know, I guess the last thing I would add is, you know, sometimes all it takes is one or two moves, and I would use Colorado 2022 as an example. They made the trade with Philly for Anthony Jochum. They made the trade with New York for Tyson Gibson, and sending Ranjan back in return. And, you know, it's paying dividend. It's kind of paid dividends for both teams, you know, short term.
Well, just to look at the Mitch Jones. Just look at that move last year, and that put Philly on fire. It was a little bit too late for them to do anything with it. But
yeah,
it was a lot of hope. And really, you get one impact player.
Yeah, so, you know, it's you know, I would just caution against selling the farm. With Colorado, it's a different story. I would caution against Philly doing it the same way I would caution against you know, a team like.
Well, New York, they don't need to facelift for the fifth time. They have all the pieces there.
They don't, and don't forget that New York has Colorado because of that Gibson trade. New York has Colorado's first round pick, so the worse. You know, the farther down the ladder Colorado moves, the higher that pick gets for New York. So that's going to pay double dividends for them in the end, you know, in addition to having Ranjan on the team from that trade. So.
All right. Well done.
Yeah.
Pat?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, to Mike, with your point, when I look at this team, though, like, you got to remember, like, Rochester's starting to catch fire again. Again, they took care of Panther City, which caused Panther City to go into, look, this is, you know, a lot of these teams are, I got to win now mode. And in order to me to believe that Philly has any kind of chance of, you know, catching the NLL by storm, is that they have to, again, you have to go in your old decks, and I don't know how much more you can go as far as drafts and all that stuff, or making some kind of significant pull of trying to do something here, because I think right now you have too many teams fighting for that last wild card spot, that last 8C spot. So I mean, like I said, Rochester's hanging in there, Panther City's hanging in there, and so forth. I mean, look, can the Wings, obviously, again, you still have a little bit more time, but now it's, again, just from the body language I've gotten from the team, or what I look to me is just look like we're going to have to hope for a prayer for us to get into the dance. And that's what it looks like to me.
All right. Pat, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, very, very. Yeah, I know you've had a long day, but
heart ripped out.
We appreciate everything you do for us and for the Wings. And
absolutely. I just felt like I went into a Mortal Kombat mode, and my heart's just been ripped out my chest here. So, yeah, my heart, yeah, that's just gonna go back to my quiet place. I'll go cry to myself just for one more week, and then I gotta get ready for 3 more days, and in 1 week I have to get ready for 10 days, 4 games. I'll be crying for 4 straight days. So yeah, something like that. My math is all wrong, but anyway, guys, you guys have your great night. Guys, always catch all Lacrosse all the time, man. This is for all your information. I've talked you guys up a storm today up in that press box with Mr. Adam Levi and so forth. So, and a lot of the Panther City guys I got to meet today. So, guys, make sure you guys check out all Lacrosse all the time, man. You guys are awesome. I'm just a dope, just trying to hold on to the coattail of this show before my team lets me go into the dark again. But guys, have a good one.
Thanks, Pat.
And I was Pat with the Wings Nest. Oh man,
Yeah,
man wears his heart on
you
his
know,
sleeve,
and
doesn't he?
just one other thing I would add, yeah, they're at Georgia. Yeah, Georgia's hot. They're on that homestand, but over the last couple of years, that's been one of the fiercest rivalries in
Always
the
a goal
NLL.
difference.
I think they've played. I've lost track, but I think they've played about 6 or 7 straight 1-goal games.
I
Over
wasn't
the
able to
last
get the
3
wasn't able to
years.
get the pick'ems with Pat. I was hoping to
Oh,
pull that one off. My goodness, because
you'll see him. Hey, he did a great
hey,
job. So
take a look at that. He did great. I went perfect this week, y'all.
Eduardo's been waiting for this since minute
He's
one
been
of
waiting.
the
Oh yeah,
podcast. So
Eduardo went 7-1. I went 8-0. It's about time. I've been the other way for a few of those weeks. So you look at that log jam that we have year to date. Shawn's still in the lead, 56-36. Pat is right behind him at 55-37. Eduardo is right behind Pat at 54-38. And I am right behind all of them at 53-39. Mike is still making his way. His New Year's resolution was to get over 500. So he's still in striking grasp of that one. But yeah, this is a log jam and a half. No one can slip up a week because someone's going ahead.
yeah, hey, I mean, my 3 and 5 could have been 6 and 2.
It could have 3 overtime losses.
I lost 3 overtime games. So,
and like I said before, that's usually me that loses those overtime ones. So something was right here. Well, look at that. Gary was cooking. Yes, he was. So they're getting me into a wrestling promo. Anyways, let's get ourselves over. We talked about New York. Let's get on to the New York Vegas game. Sundown Sock Trick, Best Jackson's Big Nights. 4 goals and 3 assists as Riptide hold on for the home win. My God, this was a game that was just, you thought it was over, and then it's like, wait, there's more. Let's take a look at the highlights, and we'll get back with our talk.
This left side, and there's a beautiful dime by Jeff T over to that Wick side, and it is Matisse who gets on the sheet and has the equalizer, level at 1.
And get him the ball and let him shoot the rock. He just missed that one, but get him 5 shots on this power play. I think he scores, and oh my goodness.
And it's Teat with the shorthanded goal for New York, and Teat gets on the board thanks to the special teams, and a beautiful find down low for the Riptide.
And then face off with about 11 seconds left. Went down, Zach Greer made a beautiful play, scored with 3 seconds left to bring him to championship, and there is a dunk goal from Sundown.
That's it. And obviously you're not rooting, just to put a big end on that Duke story and Greer, you're not rooting for Duke against Carolina tonight. There's a goal behind the net by Casey Jackson, much needed for Vegas. Had the first goal tonight. They snapped the 5-0 run from New York thanks to Jackson's goal, his 22nd of the season. Still a man up in the situation here, and the shot is in with Dunkerley out for the Riptide. The dunk is good here for New York. And it's a 6-2 game. It's been great also in the loose ball pursuits when he's played too. Here's Teets. Good step over the outside shot. There's number 2 tonight for Teets, who leads the NLL in goal score. That a Hall of Famer as well. 4v4 Kiernan just misses. Scooped up by Hall. There's the long outlet to the aforementioned Kirst here. He scores! 4v4, diving to the turf. In the third, but Vegas got to credit the Desert Dogs. Trying to look for win number 5. They dropped 3 of the last 4. The dunk is in. It's Casey Jackson. That's number 4. Like in the footsteps of Sundown, and Jackson delivers here at the barn.
Penalties that were undisciplined, but is aware of that and cognizant of that, and wants to make that change, and that's been huge as Larson Sundown with his 6th goal. Get your socks ready, Dave. Where Hannah's made a move, I'd like to see him just get his hands free and let it rip.
And they want him to take matters into his own hands, and he does, Mitch. You're spot on, and you called for it for Hannah, who gets another tonight, down to a 3-goal game lead.
And there it was, Mike.
Yeah, almost another overtime game. Unfortunately, Vegas had a little bit of a breakdown at the end. I think it was Dylan Watson who'd fallen into the crease, and Zach Greer had the ball on the left-hand side, waited for Watson to get out of the crease and then tried to feed Watson. There was another Vegas player in the area behind him, but just a miscommunication with, I think, Watson knowing that that he couldn't touch the ball. Otherwise, it would have been a change of possession with about 10 seconds left. And an
Now, of
empty
course,
net.
on the pick'ems, my only comment there was 2 words: Jeff T. And of course, the team goes as T goes, but Larson Sundown had a hell of a game.
Yeah, 6 goals and an assist. So as you saw in the highlights, 3 of them via the dunk. So
I swore that at the halftime when I saw the score at 7-2 that this thing was going to be just an absolute cakewalk. But to Vegas's credit, they didn't give up. They kept fighting. You got guys like Jack Hanna and Rob Hellier that are going to make sure that this thing stays in. Casey Jackson. They're going to make sure that this thing stays on track. And they're what's going to get this thing rolling with whatever picks come along in the next draft and whatever they do at the trade deadline for moving forward.
Absolutely. And they really have been a better road team this year than they have been at home. So just kind of showing that side of them that, that they can go into other people's barns and try to steal a victory. So
now, my only hope is that they don't get rid of any of these guys at the trade deadline towards getting younger or getting other pieces or getting other draft picks, because I think they're essential. And taking a look down the stretch there, what brought it within a goal was Hannah, Jackson, and Hellier back to back to back. And with 5 minutes left, it was a 1-goal game. So there was plenty of opportunity to steal this thing, even though it looked like a whitewash at the half.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't get the sense because they're young in terms of, this is only their second season, and Sean Williams is trying to kind of build and find his core. I can't see too much in the way of selling. And if they do, I mean, I'm just not so sure it's wise for them to sell veterans.
Right. You got a guy like Reed Reinhold who again didn't play, taking up a spot. Is it time for him to move on? I have him on my other show this coming Thursday, and we'll be talking about the lack of playing time here. And is this, busy with NLLPA, busy with his law firm outside of Lacrosse, or is it just not fitting into what Williams wants to do? I find that hard to believe because he's a hell of a player. I watched him in Toronto for years.
Yeah. I guess how much does the West Coast factor in with him?
Well, he's in Vancouver, right?
Out west.
Yeah.
So, certainly that's a piece. I would think that's an intriguing piece for anyone who needs maybe some lefty depth on the front end going into the playoffs.
Does Calgary look at something like that?
That's a good question. They just reactivated Logan Schuss, so I'm tempted.
2 weeks ago, there would probably be a better answer.
Yeah, so I'm tempted to say no. He had a couple of assists in the Georgia game, so obviously great to see him back on the floor finally again. But
for a young team, they're long in the tooth in some respects because Zach Greer, Tor Reinhold, as well as getting up there now as he's not the young guy he was in Saskatchewan.
True. Hellier as
Jacob Rouet, Casey Jackson, Rob Hellier. They're long in the tooth for a very young team.
So then let me posit this. What about Charlie Bertrand?
Again, not playing, right? So
yeah. So maybe there are pieces you can package and
Well, it won't affect them any because they're not there in the lineup, right? So
I hate to speculate on this. Look at the chemistry with Albany. Yeah, you have Dyson Williams waiting, but you know his father wants him to be on the team with him.
that's an expensive move, though.
Yes, it is. It is. Certainly, I would still say it's not what we talked about a month ago when we, had the little phony phone call with Rich Lisk and Kurt Stiers about Jeff Teat,
Right.
for Graham Hossack and, another lefty and a few picks and Max Wilson and, whatever it took for Halifax to get a hold of Jeff Teat. I don't think this would quite be on that level, considering that, you have to consider Dyson Williams hasn't stepped on an NLL floor yet. We know the talent is there, but if you're Glenn Clark, do you really want to disrupt that momentum? It's going to be a very difficult. I think it's going to be a very difficult balancing act in the off season for Glenn Clark.
Well, it's also
you have this generational.
Right?
You have someone who is being tapped as a generational talent that has not yet stepped on the floor and realistically could be walking into a defending championship situation. And you won that championship without Dyson Williams on the floor. And you have, a core offensive unit that has shown unbelievable chemistry, fearlessness. That is not an easy decision to make.
Interesting. It's going to be a very intriguing.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you're not going to ask for a lot in return,
right?
But that is a big gamble,
right?
And you only have 48 hours to figure it out.
Well, I'm sure it's already in motion if it is. But let's move on because we got a couple more games to go, and I also want to talk about some of the tie breaks and the scenarios there before we call it a week. We have our next one, which is Rochester Albany, and if it's an upset of the week, Albany's on the back half of the home and home of the two games for the weekend, and huge nights from Fields, Smith, and Lansbury, which propel the Nighthawks to a home win. I've been saying this forever that Rochester was going to right the ship. I've also been saying forever that they are one of the highest scoring teams, even when they were losing, that you can't sleep on them, and that this would be a tough game for Albany, which is why I picked Rochester to win this thing. And, well, I look like a genius for but a minute, and then reality will set back in. We'll see that.
I did pick Rochester, too.
There you go.
That was one of my wins.
Now, if I would have picked this one on that 365 card, it would have gone from a couple of hundred to a couple of grand that I would have made. So, silly me, still, you can't look at a few hundred in the and go, that's too bad. But yeah, it could have been a whole lot more. Anyways, let's look at the highlights.
Fed in front, wide open, the bouncer, he scores. Waters.
Low shots on him and squeaking him by. That time he dropped quickly and was able to smother that ball.
Field scores, and that's his third.
The team's going to get Dyson Williams next year, the #1 draft pick from last September. So this offense, believe it or not, is going to get even better.
And the dunk from behind. Over to Smith. Smith picks it up. Back Lansbury, feeds it across, he scores! Tic-tac-toe, and McConvey buries it. Still looking in front, Kurtz gives it over on the far side. Fed back across the shot, he scores, and the two rookies hook up for that one.
If there's any year that you'd have co-rookies, it would be these two guys.
Walker trying to tie things up, and he does. We're tied at 8.
They come in with the worst penalty kill against the worst power play.
Over now to Paulus. Fed in front. The shot, he scores. Firth. Connor Fields. Near side to Smith. Smith driving through, shooting, he scores! Ryan Smith.
That.
Over now to Fields. Fields driving, Fields scores! Simmons, watched there by Whitty. Shot clock is down to 6. Takes it in on goal, the shot, he scores!
To get that possession advantage.
Up top to Smith. Shooting, scores! Ryan Smith. Fields eyeing up. Jamison still has it. Fields looking, shooting, scores! Feeds it down low, grabbed there by McConvey, over to Fields, up top to Smith, shooting, scores! Ryan Smith. Now to Lanchbury. Lanchbury feeds it to Smith, scores! Ryan Smith. Wing, Lanchbury trying to get free. Lanchbury spinning, still has a flip pass in front, scores! Waters! To Connor Fields. He'll hand it off to Smith, now to Lanchbury. Fed in front, he scores! McConvey! Lanchbury over to Fields. Connor Fields driving, in on goal, scores! Connor Fields with a sock trick.
Now we talk about Fields, we talk about Smith. We don't talk about McConvey. I love this kid. I think he is going to be just an absolute stellar Mark Matthews kind of player in this league. He's big, he's strong, he's got good hands, he's got good goal sense, he makes plays. I think that he is really on track. You know, he's only had half of 1 year, a little more than half of 1 year. I think he's going to be just an absolute standout over his career in the NLL if he stays healthy. Now, we talked about, Mike, face-offs. It's been really our big thing here all night long, every game, and talking about that. Well, it's pretty lopsided in this one, too. Nardella won 26-7, but yet Rochester comes away with an 18-12 win. Albany also outshoots Rochester 64-51, but yet we're talking about an 18-12 victory for Rochester.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also note when you saw the highlights, I mean, halfway through the third quarter was 10-10.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like Rochester just kind of, you know, dominated from the start. So it was you know, you could say Albany, you know, that's the point maybe where Albany ran out of gas. I kind of felt like the turning point was that, you know, that Fields goal that put him up 12-10, where, you know, he did a few dodges and just
Waters' goal was something else too. That Lansbury flip to Waters and then in, just amazing. Yeah. But you know, we're going to again not talk about Hutchcraft. He faced 64 shots. Easily, this could have gone the other way.
Absolutely.
So for all the flack he's taken for sometimes not being in a position, whatever, I think you know, this is the Riley Hutchcraft that I knew in Mimico. You know, it's just taking it by the horns and riding it and doing everything that he did. He gave so much kudos to Nick Rose working behind him and how much he learned and is putting towards his starting job now. And you can see it. Every week he's just that much more confident. Every week he's just that much more standoutish, you know, where he's a mixture of both because he moves, but he's also a position goalie. So, you know, he's able to do the both. He's reactionary as well as being positioned. So, you know, as he gets more comfortable, look out.
Definitely. And you know, 2-game winning streak after the 6-game losing streak, after the 3-game winning streak to open the season.
Yeah.
And this definitely makes next week's next week's back half of the home and home all that much more important, really for both teams, with Albany dropping the back end of their doubleheader. They're now a game behind Toronto. And, now they have the back half of this home and home where Rochester has to go to Albany, but, with a chance to climb back to 500.
Right.
And really into the playoff picture because, they have maybe a middle of the road schedule left after that game. They're going to be at Colorado, which, could be
most. But they're one of those teams which the other teams are fearing now because they're getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, they're going to get Halifax and New York at home. They'll be at Toronto after that and at Georgia, and then they're home against Philly. So,
and we're going to talk about Halifax in a minute. And again, I'm scratching my head about them because for a team that was pegged so high, they've come off very mediocre this year and been another one of those teams where I just, I can't put my finger on why it doesn't work week in and week out. But
I think I can. Has to do with the little small little box within a box.
Okay. Well, Stah's 4 goals leads the way for the Seals in the home win over the Thunderbirds. But again, 8 goals are going to win you nothing. Nothing. I don't care who you're going against. You go against Vancouver, and 8 goals is not going to win that game. So let's look at the highlights, and let's see where we are on this one.
They have some advantages defensively. Doby buries it in the top corner off a beautiful pick from Trey LeClaire, and San Diego ties it at 1. Pass right there. Woods here at the end of the shot clock. Puts it in near side around O'Riglieri with Gobrecht all over his back. Is it on to Dunbar? Trying to get underneath on Pearson. Has to work it to Stotts, who steps into one. Put back attempt goes for San Diego. It's Jake Govett on the doorstep. Oh, it Seals late getting off the floor, and Hill a kick save. We told you at the top of this quarter, it is San Diego's best defensively, and they break down as Peterson, flying off the bench, gets Halifax back within 1 on his second of the night to Dunbar. Wesley Berg, Stotts comes open, and he stings the corner. Kyle Jackson freed him up, and Austin Stotts has a new career high with 38 goals. Right. Halifax 10 for their last 20 on the PK over the last 2.5 games. Doby Dunbar, a carbon copy of the first half as Dunbar has his second. During the break. We'll see if Rain has the announcer's curse. Here we go. Warren Hill with the save. Big time stop for Warren Hill as Halifax desperately needed that. Now they'll have to go down 5-on-3, but that was huge. 5-on-3 for 4 minutes and also giving up a penalty shot. But Doby with a yard sale. He's got a 1-on-1 to the net, but slows it down. And Aaron Woods goes flying off of him. LeClaire back to Berg, and San Diego makes it 10-6 on a discombobulated sequence culminated with great ball movement. Jameson's goal just a couple of minutes ago snapped the 10-2 Seals run. And Shanks buries one up high. Back-to-back goals for the...
So, Mike, are you telling me that you give up 12 power plays? That's too many? We've said this all year.
The box within the box.
It's
called the penalty box.
They're so prone to taking stupid penalties, and this was just another game in which retaliation. San Diego does this on purpose. They do an awful lot of things to get under your skin, and then Toronto almost fell into that trap last week. Halifax, hook, line, and sinker fell into this.
Yeah, 31 penalty minutes, 12 power plays. San Diego scored on 7 of them. So,
that's your game.
Take those goals away, and you've got an 8-6 Halifax win. big road win.
One well needed too, and this is needed for San Diego too, coming off the loss last week to Toronto. But it's inexcusable when you take a look at that penalty shot when they already had two guys in a box. Warren Hill, you can't blame him. There's just how many things you're going to do. 51-40, San Diego outshot Halifax. You're only getting 40 shots. That's because you got 12, penalties to kill. Of course, you're not going to be doing anything, offensively.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll note is that this was the middle of that really rough 4-game stretch that they had here. They, 2 weeks ago, they hosted Georgia, lost a close one, went to San Diego, lost that. So now they're 0-2 in that 4-game stretch. They've got home against Panther City, who just came off a big win. Let's call it for what it is. That's a big momentum changing win. They had lost 2 straight coming into that game, and then they're at Toronto. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility to see 2 weeks from now that Halifax is 7-8 and maybe on the outside of the playoff window looking in. So
it's too late for them to do anything movement-wise because
then after that,
Thursday had said it last year in the offseason. This was the year they were going to put it all in, and if not, they're going to have to go and cut away and try something else because this didn't work. Well, it doesn't look like it's working.
And then after that Toronto game, guess who? At Rochester.
So
So
it's white hot at the moment. Face-off wise, you had that Withers against Baptiste little to-do. San Diego edges Halifax 13-12. It's just like the Erlin thing. But Baptiste, you got to give him credit, man. He's had 2 really tough opponents, and he's looked good on both weeks. He had Erlin last week. Now you got Withers this week. That's not easy to come away with both victories on that. So, well, it's going to be interesting to take a look. Just before we move to closing stuff, I want to just jump in here because we're at that stage now where we have to take a look at the tie breaks. I've had this for a while, and we've not really had to use it. Now, let's take a look. The tiebreakers. The first one, obviously, is a head-to-head winning percentage between tied teams. Second one is when it comes down, if that's still not going to solve it, winning percentage against common opponents played equal number of times. That's a weird one. That's a weird one.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm baffled. Why are they not using series goal differential as the next tiebreaker? Why are they not using all of the possible tiebreakers within a 2-game series between teams to try to resolve something first before going into the rest of the league? I actually compiled I compiled the list of the 2-game series that are 1-1 so far to this point, and I've got a number of them. Albany Vegas, Calgary Philly, Calgary Toronto, Georgia Panther City, Georgia Vancouver, Halifax and Philly, Las Vegas and Panther City, New York and Philly, Saskatchewan and Vancouver. And, some of those might not sound like they're terribly important, but really in reality, they all are, because whether it's teams fighting for a playoff spot or teams looking to increase their standing with respect to the entry draft, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. You take a look at some of these.
And if you use series goal differential, only one of those. What do we have? We have 9 series right now, 2-game series that ended up being split. Only one of them would go to a third tiebreaker, and that would be Halifax Philly, because both of those were overtime games. So if you use series goal differential, you'd already have your answer on 8 of these 9 scenarios.
Well, I think that's what the league's trying for. They're trying not to get down to some of these other ones because some of these things are just, strength of victory, combined win percentage of all teams defeated. Teams defeated multiple times will count the number of times. Strength of schedule, that's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Right.
Combined win percentage of all teams competed against multiple times will count the number of times competed against. League-wide goal differential, goals for, goals against, and then if all that fails, it's basically throw your arms up the air and say, we're just going to have a coin toss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the league wants it. If these things come down to in A or B, they don't want it to go too far down the line because some of that stuff you're going to have to actually make a call to Nassau to get some of them to start doing some of or MIT to get some of the math going and some of these things.
Elias Sports Bureau.
Yeah. Well, we'll be going with Cooper and the league things there for the other computer.
Right. The lax metrics.
Things there. Yeah, the metrics. Just a reminder to everybody that we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on Thread, we are on YouTube. Please take a look again at our YouTube page. It's starting to grow. We're starting to get a little more followership. I'd like to grow it a little bit bigger. We got all kinds of stuff there for you. Retro games, interviews. We have our library of shows. We have press conferences. We have all kinds of things and all kinds of tools to help you further advance your knowledge and your expertise of the box lacrosse and the NLL game, as well as some of the other faucets with field, with sixes, and all the other things that are going along with it. And it's only going to grow from there. We'd love to use it as a big tool to help all the other information that we have to get more out there, so it doesn't have to just filter right through Facebook only or through the website. We'd love to give you more opportunities and options to look at more stuff, to give you a 3D view of everything. So please give it a view, tell your friends about it. Let's grow that thing big so we can do all kinds more for it. Please visit our Facebook page 3, 4, 5 times a day. News is always changing. We have our finger on the pulse of the situation, and this week is going to be very, very busy with the trade deadline and all the other things to take a look at all the buyers, all the sellers, and everything else, and the new looks and the facelifts of these teams and how they're going to go in the future. Mike's got an article coming up for the panic button thing. So
yeah, I think it'll be more of a March to May thing. It'll be after the trade deadline, and I'll be outlining the teams that are kind of chasing maybe the final, say, 3 or 4 playoff spots, what their remaining schedules are, and I'll be making note of any new wrinkles, new changes in their rosters that might help propel a team that's outside the playoff window into the playoffs, or keep a team that's just inside the playoff window staying inside the playoff window, such as a Buffalo or like a Panther City or a Rochester,
even a Halifax for that matter.
So
we have another busy week ahead of us. Shawn will be back with us next week to add more insight to our West Coast, and we again thank you all for your patronage week in, week out. We love doing this for you. We thrive on it, and we really, really appreciate all the positive feedback we've gotten from many of you. I know I talked to a lot of people. I know that Pat's talked to a lot of people as well. It's just heartwarming that all of our hard work is for good, and we love doing it, and we are going to continue to I say we work night and day, and it's the truth. It's around the clock for us, and it's only going to get busier, and we're looking forward to the MSL seasons around the corner, the WLA seasons around the corner, the PLL season is just around the corner as well as the busiest time of the year for the NLL, as well as playoffs upcoming. So ALL playoffs are coming as well, so I'm looking forward to jumping in with that as well. So stick with us. We are here week in, week out with you, and we really do appreciate all of your support. So, Mike, any last words?
I'll just be on the lookout for that article. It will definitely, use it as a tool to see what path your team has to the playoffs,
right?
If any, still. So,
right. For me personally, I am really curious to see what's going to happen by Tuesday and see how the new realigned teams are looking, and will that be enough to go against something like an Albany or a Toronto and really give them a run. Let's see what kind of playoffs we're headed for. Anyways, for Shawn Slaght, who is traveling this weekend, for Muffler Mike, who is over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. Again, thanking you so much for all your patronage and support. And we will see you again next week. Keep your stick in your hands. And we'll see you again next week, Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Until then, have a great week.